Yo, everybody. Welcome to Off Panel, a weekly interview podcast about all things comics brought to you by Sketch.com. I'm your host, David Harper, and this week's guest is the team behind the upcoming Good Devils Don't Play Fair with Evil at Image Comics. It's David Brothers and Nick Dragotta. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for having me.
So we are recording this on Wednesday, September 10th. It is the week of FOC, the dreaded final order cutoff. How are you two doing today? Did you survive the experience? We'll start with you, David.
This is my first time doing FOC, so I was a little nervous. I was kind of following Nick's lead, but I think we survived. And the thing I came away with most was that the orders are good, but working with Nick is like the highlight.
Yeah.
You know, like we did a cool book together that's just about stuff that we like. And it seems like people are responding to it. So that's pretty satisfying.
Nick, are you deceased?
Yeah, I mean, it's the enigma of comic book marketing when you're a creator. And, you know, we're doing the book through Image. So you kind of handle a little more of that. And Image does their part. And then I think also with them switching over distributors. So they're with Lunar now. And before, you know, the last book I did, it was through Diamond. So it's just, yeah, you know, you put it out on your socials, you spread the word. And like David said, though, this was a work we had done a few years ago, maybe over the course of 5 years. Maybe
yeah, we started 2021.
Yeah. So, and it's a collection of short stories, and it was just fun to make, and now it's really cool to see it all together in one place. And Sasha, he did a beautiful job of wrapping the whole package together. So
I think the thing that's interesting about this is, in a lot of ways, you know, you've already done this. You've released these comics. You've already done the collaboration. This is just like a fulfillment of it in print. But in a general sense, neither of you really need this book. Like, you have other work you're doing, and this is fully you too, in a way that maybe like other projects you get to do aren't. And so I think it's interesting because it's like, I think that there's an interesting article to write about how Final Order Cutoff is this really stressful thing that really is like a make or break moment for a lot of books. But for you two, it's, you know, David, you said it, it's like you wanted to work with Nick, and this is kind of like a fulfillment of work that you've done over a long period of time and just getting it out to a bigger audience. And so I'm not saying that like you weren't stressed about it, but maybe you needed it a little bit less, if that makes sense.
I did kind of have that thought in the back of my head. Like, the thing that I wanted to do was done, and this is kind of the work side of things. But it was interesting trying to figure out the best way to tell people about the book. Because, you know the whole book in your head, all of the like little nuances, but that's not what sells the book. So it's kind of like, how can we boil this down to one specific thing? So it ended up being kind of a fun game for me, despite, you know, just being kind of a lark of a project at the same time. Like, I feel like I learned a lot about comics and how to market comics in 2025. And the answer is nobody knows, and we're all doing our best. But like, yeah, Nick, what was your approach? Like, we were posting pages and stuff. Like, what was your experience?
yeah, it's tough because I mean, I'm old. I'm getting old. I realize that. Like, even formatting a page to fit on Instagram becomes like such a pain in the ass for me that I'm like, this is the best I can do. You know, I'm like, whereas before I just feel like with Twitter, everything seems so much easier, and I'm no longer on Twitter. So now I just mainly do Instagram, but I find I get really good engagement, but then like I think the orders came in and I was expecting them to be a little more, but you know, it is a one shot. So I think retailers are like, this is a one and done. It's not really an investment book. I'm not going to sell it the next month. No one really knows what it is. It was even hard to preview. It's got 3 different stories.
Yeah.
You know, 2/3 of it are in black and white, which is kind of a no-no in the American comic scene. You want to go color. You know, I'm also drawing the hottest book in comics. And then I thought, oh, well, we'll ride this wave a little bit. This is going to be a real easy sell. You know, you like Absolute Batman, come pick up Good Devils. And that really didn't translate into orders, I don't think. So I just, you know, again, like David said, who knows? I do think it's going to be a book that sells out and it'll go back to print. And like all Good Devil projects, you know, it's one of the best kept secrets in comics, and it'll be hard to find.
The sleeper hit of the fall.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the guy who's wearing the T-shirt of the band when he goes to their concert, but I do want to say I have my Cry Punch sitting right here.
Oh, man.
I got the Go Back, which David actually sent to me, but I have all the issues of Newbern, and I have on an iPad upstairs. I have Fight Like Hell. So
Nice.
I've been repping for Good Devils for a while. I think you guys are amazing together, but I actually want to start with who you are in your relationship, because David, for those that don't know, has a long history in comics as a critic at Fourth Letter and Comics Alliance, amongst other places, before working at publishers like Image and Viz. And you've made your own comics and even edited a book by the great Hideo Kojima, which was like, I have to admit, when I got that book and I was like, holy shit, David Brothers is everywhere.
It was wild. I can't complain about my life much at all, really.
And then Nick's been making comics for a long time, like FF, East of West, and now the, as mentioned, ascendant and gloriously selling. I've been talking to retailers all week, and they've been like passing out as they talk about Absolute Batman. That's your professional histories, but how and when did the two of you first meet? Nick, we'll start with you on that one.
I met David. I mean, I never met him. I just knew him like you through the internet and his writing. And I could tell you the exact year. It was between 2004 and 2008. So, I mean, I was starved for good comic material. Like, I was working at Marvel, but I was getting all the jobs that Mike Allred couldn't do. So Marvel would ask Mike Allred if he wanted to pencil something, and he would say, I'm busy with Madman, but if Dragotta draws it, I'll ink it and finish it. And it looked like a Mike Allred project. Like, he was doing finishes on my pencils. And at the time, I don't know, that time in comics, there was nothing getting me jazzed. And through David's Fourth Letter, I started to discover manga, which super late in life. I was like I was in my 30s. You know, I'd go to the Barnes and Noble when they were dominating the scene in Barnes and Noble. I mean, kids would sit in the aisles and read the manga, and I didn't even know where to begin. You know, and then I rediscovered Akira, and I ripped through those phone books. And then David's blog, he had a post one day about Blam, and it just, like, he said the perfect things of, like, he was like, this is a weird sci-fi comic, Tsutomu Nihei. It's bizarre, but if you like dark science fiction and like big, environments, and he said like something about the bear, and I just was like, what the hell is he talking? And he showed some pictures of it, I think, and I just was like, God, I gotta check that. It was you had mentioned 3 sci-fi books in this one. It was just a little paragraph.
I think that was on Comics Alliance, maybe.
No, I'm pretty sure it was you, and who was the other dude where you were doing Fourth Leather with? What you would like trade off posts or?
Yeah, me and Gavin.
Yeah, and you just wrote like a simple blog of like, hey, you like sci-fi? Check out these 3 mangas. And man, I went and checked it out, and I was like, this dude's on point, like for my taste. Like, I was like, I gotta, whatever he's recommending, I'm gonna read. And then, just then starting to really get into whenever David wrote something, I'd see him more on the name. Like, the name clicked. Like, oh, David Brothers wrote something. Let me check this out. And then, funniest thing, 2008, I moved to the Bay Area, and David, I think around that time, joined Image. And it was just like, whoa, David Brothers lives like a mile away from me now. Like, it was like bizarre. And then I think we crossed emails at Image, and I was like, yo, David, you want to hang out? And then that was it. We like got lunch or something.
That's it was 2012, maybe. It was a little after 2008 because I moved to the Bay in 2007. But that timeline sounds right to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I came out in 08.
Yeah, what a trip.
So.
And from my side, I mostly knew Nick as a Marvel artist. Like I was actually just talking with Jeff Parker about Nick coming in to do an X-Men First Class that Allred like couldn't do or something. So it's funny you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because he was like, holy crap, like this Nick guy's pretty good. And so I followed him from there. There was Vengeance with Joe Casey. That made a big impression on me. I was a big Joe Casey guy. And then, Image, we linked up. I liked East of West before we started hanging out. Like my desktop at work, I don't know if it's cringeworthy or whatever, was one of the drawings from East of West from a panel I'd blown up big from the original art for like my entire time at Image of one of the characters just laying down. So when he's like, let's hang out, I was like, all right, cool. I don't know what this is about, but why not? And we like a lot of the same things. We like similar things in different ways, which is always good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go Back
think...
came out of our love for Kill Scott Heron, which I feel like most comics don't have that kind of origin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Good Devils is Fist of the North Star, so that's a much more common comics origin. Yeah, I don't know. We got legs.
Well, then also we met over the grant too. I think
the Creators for Creators grant.
Yeah, and that
I always forget we did this. This was, I think we ran for 4 or 5 years this was a point when Image Comics was blowing up. They were kind of becoming the Image Comics we know today, and money was flowing to creators like wild. And we were like, what if we gave some of it back to the community? So, Nick had the original idea. We kind of refined it into a grant that gave $30,000 to a single cartoonist to help with the production of a single work. And it's still one of the coolest projects I've ever been involved in, and one of the most complicated.
Yeah.
I've never talked to lawyers that much in my life.
I think it's actually that period is so fascinating because, I don't remember who actually ended up winning the Creators for Creators grant. I think there was multiple of them, right?
Yeah, there were multiple.
Yeah.
There were
Lee Dean was our first.
You know who one of the runners-up was that ended up publishing at Image? Do you know who this person was? They just won the Russ Manning Award. Richard Blake, who did Hexagon Bridge. That was
nice.
One of the, not the winners, but like a runner-up or one of the other ones that was in contention for one of the Creators for Creators grants. And apparently Jonathan Hickman loved it and sent it to Eric Stevenson. And that's the only reason why that ended up at Image.
That was the goal, really, because, we had like Kelly Sue DeConnick, Matt Fraction, I think Reminder was in the mix. We had all these big names who had, a direct line to Stevenson. So they could see a book and say, hey, this is good. If it doesn't win, we could use our resources to kind of
advocate
give
for
someone else. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think giving back is so important.
The first winner was M. Dean. And they, I think, have recently changed their name. But they are their book got published by Fantagraphics, so it was like the first year was magical because M was like so beyond, so ready. Like it was awesome to just see them create and just go, and then get picked up by Fantagraphics. And and then the next the 2018 recipient was Des Video, and I remember he was more like ethereal, insane comics, like I Want to Draw a Dream, and it was just like go for it. I don't think ever finished the project. And then Shobo and Shaf Cocker. So then we were getting these submissions from Nigeria, and the Nigerians are on point. Like, the comics, they were just dominating the submissions, and they won that 2019, and then Nicolette Bokalon 2020. She goes by Skelehim. She does like these really awesome horror comics.
Yeah.
And then Whale Mataluko was 2022, and the last one. And then it's interesting because, like David saying, the money was flowing early. And then it became harder and harder to generate that $30,000. And I just got it kind of felt like I was just asking, like everyone, I could tell people were like, oh boy, here comes Dragotta. He's going to ask for money. We got to give a shout out to everyone that was a part of it. The who's who of Image at the time: Robert Kirkman, Kelly Sue, Matt Fraction, C. Spike Trotman was on the board with us. It was so many great. I'm leaving out so many names, but so many incredible creators were a part of this and donated money. Fiona Staples never said no. Like, I'd be like, and she'd give the biggest amounts. Brian K. Vaughan. David, help me out here.
No, there's a
Declan
ton.
Shelby. I could go on and on about, it was a community that just gave in to this. Robert Kirkman, Charlie Adlard, totally.
Charlie was huge.
Could not have done it without Charlie, Charlie's contributions. And still, Nick, what do you need? It was amazing. And then we had a board of directors, and we all sat on the board, and then we had a really fair, I think, submission process where it was like we all picked favorites, or we would bring judges in, actually.
Zainab Akhtar was one of them in the early run.
Yeah, from awesome. Short Box, who's I think got the best taste in comics, period.
Oh, yeah.
So just incredible group. Like and I thought it was really fairly done, and it was like almost impossible to pick a winner every year, but you had to pick one. Yeah, I don't know. We learned a lot, right? I think.
Yeah, we did.
We do it a lot differently now, I think, but.
And now, a quick word from one of our sponsors. Looking for sci-fi comics which go further than you've ever been before? Look no further than 2000 AD. It's the galaxy's greatest comic. Whether you're a new or returning reader, September is the perfect time to try out 2000 AD with the launch of 2000 AD issue 2450, a jump-on issue with a fresh start for every story. Featuring a terrifying Judge Dredd story by Rob Williams and Henry Flint, the issue also has a major new Rogue Trooper story from the team of Alex DeCampi, Neil Edwards, and a whole lot more. Get a print subscription to 2000 AD and it'll arrive through your mailbox every week, and your first issue is free. Or subscribe digitally and you can download DRM free copies of each issue for only $9 a month. That's 128 pages of incredible comics every month for less than $10. Head to 2000AD.com and click on subscribe now, or download the 2000 AD app and start reading today. And now, back to the show. I saw you two at, I want to say it was kind of almost like the peak of powers of the Creators for Creators grant, where I think the two of you went on stage at the Image Expo that was in Seattle, the Showbox. Yeah. And David, you were hosting that whole thing, I think.
I was on
right?
stage for 8 hours straight that day. That was a wild time.
I was there the whole time. That was a wild day for me, because that was the day I realized that Karen Berger is not actually British, as I always thought in my head. I have no idea. I think it was just the British invasion that just totally ruined my brain for that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think people really realize what that time was like for that whole section of comics. But I want to move on from that, though. I'm curious. You spent all this time talking about comics. You spent all this time talking about stories. You were doing all this stuff to develop stories for other people and develop comics for other people. How did that lead to you guys actually wanting to make comics together?
I got bullied into it, actually.
Nick.
The secret story here is our friend Caleb Goldner. He's also formerly of the Bay Area. We would hang out at Nick's place and talk comics and movies and whatnot. And Caleb was always like, David, you got to write a comic. And Nick is like, David, you got to write a comic. And Caleb eventually got a script out of me after like years of bullying. And it was this strip called Apollo Kids. It was just like maybe 8 pages long. Like 2 kids come to Earth, they fight some monsters, and then something funny happens. But it was nice. And I think once I did that, Nick was like, oh, you're writing scripts now, huh?
The dam has been broken.
Yeah, and it is nice. I've been fortunate to work with friends so far in comics, with Alyssa Salah on Perfect Crime Party coming out, I think in October, November, with Nick, of course, with Caleb on Ghost Cage, Emma Rios on Suelo. It's all of my friends have been drawing or making comics for like 20 years, so I've had like the best people to learn from. So when it came down to writing for Nick, I was like, oh, I should just ask him what kind of script he wants to read, and then we could do the storytelling from there. Because so much of what I like about Nick's work is like the delicate storytelling, like the way he gets the story on the page. And so that made it kind of a fun mental challenge. Like, how can I translate these critical skills to the opposite? Like, how do I create the effect instead of identifying the effect? And that's the kind of challenge that I love. Like, I don't even have like a higher reason for it. It's just fun to sit down and be like, okay, I know I want this kid to walk across New York City and never see a friend and then eventually get home at the end, but how's that going to work? Mm-hmm. And, we chatted about it. We talked in his backyard, and Go Back came out of that.
Mm-hmm. Nick, why did you want to bully David into writing?
I mean, I love David's writing. So I love his writing about comics, and I really identify with it. Like, I don't think there's ever something I read and I'm like, he's so wrong. How does he not get this artist? Or, I'm always, there's always something insightful. And I just feel like it comes from a very honest point of view. I think David will be like, I got a feeling about this. I don't know if it's right or not. And I like that. Like, I hate the kind of like, this is my way of thinking, you better fall in line. It's just kind of like questioning more. And then I could think of a few posts, like you wrote about Hellboy and you picked a page and there's certain panels where like Mignola did some really abstract storytelling. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And then it gets you to think about your own work. And then I'm just kind of like, I know a lot of comic writers, and I find like a lot of them are full of shit. And so like, I'm like, I want to work with really authentic like points of view. right?
Yeah.
Because then I think that packs more punch on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the exciting thing for me is like, wow, what's David going to say when he tells a story, and what's and then I think everything like what we like a lot overlaps,
Mm-hmm.
So and then just the point of view, I just love it, and then I just want to see what would he make. I think
Yeah.
anyone can make comics, it's there's no barrier, it's kind of a taste thing, knowing what to leave out and what to put in. And like through reading David's stuff, I'm like, this guy's got really good taste. I like it. So let's make comics. And it's funny. Ramon Villalobos always makes fun of me because he's always like, Nick, you tell everyone, like, write something, I'll draw it. And I'm like, yeah, but no one ever writes anything. Like, so it's always fun to put people to that kind of test, and be like, because we all sit down and talk, and we all start, well, I do this or that. What do you? And then when you meet people you like, and then I'm like, yeah, write that up. Let's see, draw it, and I'll draw it. And then people like half the time don't write anything. So
I love that. There's this rapper Pharoah Monch who has a line about he's incredibly talented, and he says that for those who are brave enough to ask, the feature is free. Like he'll just show up on your album.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt that, and because we love this medium, we love it, and I feel like the barrier into it is it's just in the doing. It really is, and then it's can you come up with $500 to get your ass to a show and get a table, like majority of shows, artist alleys are filled with kids posting prints of printer, like AI drawings, they got enough gusto to get there. I don't want them there, but like you want the people in it for the right reasons. And like, I don't know, I want to break down that barrier and be like, just do it. Let's go, know, and I'll present your idea in a professional fashion. And then let's see,
I kind of do the editing version of that in a way. Like I don't really talk about it because it flood my inbox, but like, you get pitches from people and it's like, okay, well, you just want, free feedback. And others are like a young artist who's like, hey, what do you think about this? I always try to reply to the young artists. There's one guy I've been talking to for the past year. He's been sending me his comics, and the difference between like last fall and, August when he sent me the last one is astounding.
Yeah.
Like he's come so far. And, it's not me. He just said like, hey, what do you think about this? And I wrote him like a little essay about his 6-page strip. Like, here's what's good. Here's what's bad. And I think that comics has a long history of that. There's apprenticeship, there's the Xeric grant, there's other things. And we've lost some of that with the move to digital and kind of the way the industry has broadened and become more corporate. But I think on a, like on an artist level, on a writer level, editor level, like find somebody young and give them some free advice. It costs you nothing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can think of editors that gave me that little nugget, or I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and I got to meet like David Mazzucchelli, Will Eisner,
Man.
And there were just things they'd say. They'd look at your portfolio and just give you just enough to keep going. So I think like that. I think positive feedback, like no bullshit. When someone needs work, you tell them they need work, what they're doing wrong. And then when they're doing things right, like really push that and say, continue to do this, now get consistent and stuff. And it just, like you said, it's drawing. You can grow and get better. You might reach a ceiling because I guess then talent can start to kick in, but we see what's out there.
Yeah.
It's achievable.
I don't remember what the line was, so I'm not going to try to recreate it. This was a long time ago on the podcast, but I remember Steve Lieber coming on and talking about going to the Kubert School, and I think Jose Delbo was one of his teachers, and he talked about how there was like this one thing he said that just kind of like unlocked something. And the thing is like you never know what that one thing is going to be, so it's like just say it, and if it hits, it hits.
Yeah, I love doing portfolio reviews. I used to go to SCAD to do those for 3 or 4 years in a row. Somebody else took over for my job for it, but it's energizing, seeing young artists, people who they know what they want to do, but maybe their skill isn't quite there yet, but it's like on the cusp. Like you can see like the passion just below the surface. That's got to be one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in comics.
Yeah, I think it's really good too, is just being veterans in the industry to also see what young people are up to and what the trends are. I mean, last time I went to SCAD, when I went to SCAD in 98, I graduated, there was nothing but dudes. I went there now and it's nothing but women, and they are killing it. And then also everyone draws on an iPad. Like I'm like pulling out the brushes and the pens and they're looking at me like,
what is this?
Why? Yeah. Like got Procreate, dude, you know, and I'm just like, how do you draw on an iPad? I can't, you know.
And the influences are completely different too. I mean, I think that's whenever I talk to people about going back to like the school they went to, it's the influences, it's like the things that they want to do. I remember talking to somebody about how they asked like, what do you want to do? And it's always like, I want to make YA graphic novels or webtoons.
Yeah, sports manga.
Yeah, or sports manga or something like that. And it is fascinating how I mean, it's evolved really quickly. But all right, I do want to bring in Good Devils. I feel like this is a good time I can bring it in. Let's talk about Good Devils, Don't Play Fair with Evil, which is your new Image Comics one-shot that arrives on October 1st. Here's the solicit. From Nick Dragotta and David Brothers comes 3 tales that hit like a truck. Who will rule the roost in the post-apocalypse? Will the greatest boxer alive actually live up to his self-proclaimed legend? And just who will survive in America? I've read it. It rules. I've read it in multiple forms. It's been in a lot of forms. But the thing I want to bring up is like we were just talking about influences. We're talking about how like Nick, you said earlier like you found that you and David shared a lot of like passions, a lot of influences, a lot of things you connected with. And the thing that I think is interesting about this project, there's a lot of things that are interesting about this project, is it seems like it's very much born from influences in a way that most creators don't admit. Like Fist of the North Star, George Morikawa, and Gil Scott-Heron were all essential influences to these stories. Why is that? Is it just because of how foundational those influences really are to these stories? Like, did you build around those? Like, what led you to like wanting to, I don't know, fuel stories from very specific influences?
I think it came from the original idea. Nick wanted to do a Fist of the North Star story for Cry Punch, a manga anthology. And kind of the gimmick was we would do our own version that was sort of in the middle of our ongoing Fist of the North Star series.
Yeah, I love that part of it.
And so when it came time for, we should do something else together, we were like, oh, let's do a sequel. So we're still kind of in that Fist of the North Star realm. So even though we were homaging George Morikawa with Fight Like Hell, it's still in that same Fist of the North Star universe. And then we had 2 out of 3. We were like, well, might as well keep the train rolling, I think Go Back is the least obvious influence out of the 3 of them, just because it's so much more about what Gil Scott-Heron kind of brought to the culture, the way he described things, the mood he brings, while the others are more like setting and kind of overall origin story and vibes. But it's nice to own the influences because sometimes you'll read something and it's like clearly a ripoff, and it can be fine, or maybe it's an homage, you can never tell. But I think if you say like, this is what we're doing, this is our influence, then it becomes clear that it's an homage, and that's more interesting.
Yeah.
There's a Wolverine comic, Wolverine Enemy of the State, and the opening is from Akira Kurosawa's High and Low. Like, it's just this straight up story. Like, there's the rich guy, his son gets kidnapped. Oh no, it's the driver's son. The rich guy doesn't care anymore. And then Wolverine comes in and it becomes a Wolverine comic. And I'm like, this would be so much better if you own the influence instead of just kind of lifting it. And so with this, we're trying to own the influence very much.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like you should share your influences and praise them so you could put more people onto it. And yeah, I definitely know of a few artists that like they don't share where they're getting their stuff from. But like we have, it's fuel. I mean, I read comics for enjoyment and I get inspired by them and I learn from them. And I think like for Fist of the North Star, what's interesting too about both George Morikawa and Tetsuo Hara, Fist of the North Star, is I've seen both their gallery shows in Japan and was blown away. Like was like, holy shit. Like this is raw power on a page. Full on deception. Like this art form is just a 2D medium mark making, but you believe these 3D spaces, you believe the violence, you believe the power and the energy on the page. And as an artist, like I'm like, how do I got to try this. I got to do this. I could Fist of the North Star, I was telling David, goes back to me like one of the first movies I've ever saw was The Road Warrior. The second Mad Max film. And I remember my mom loved, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
She's like, he was so hot. And now everyone hates him. But we were like, I saw that when I was way too young. I mean, the dude getting his fingers cut off. Like,
It's a wild movie.
It's brutal. It's brutal. But I remember being like, this is so cool. Like, this is insane. And then to see Fist of the North Star a little later in life, you're like, oh, whoa, this is like total Road Warrior, but martial arts and like pressure points and like energy and gore. I mean, like, you know, I don't think there's ever been a gore. Well, there has been, but there's like the gore that, you know, I wasn't used to seeing at the time. And it's just cool. Like, it's just badass. Like, it's the best of like I always see Stallone in the main character when you put the shades on and the big pompadour and stuff. But, and also, so I just think it's really cool. So that struck me, like, that struck the nerve for me to do that. I think of like, there's something nostalgic going back to my youth about it. And then it's just a damn cool comic. And then with George Morikawa, with Hajime no Ippo, I'm Ippo no Joe.
Hajime no Ippo.
See, David is good for correcting me on this. There are nuances it's a boxing comic, and there's nuances in it as a storyteller that I think every artist should look at. He like correctly portrays how to throw a punch, how to move around a ring, how to move your feet, and he'll just like cut to the boxer's shoe and show the turn, and then follow with, you know, like the right cross or something. And it's just beautiful craftsmanship. And then remember, me and David were in Tokyo at the same time and saw that show together, and it was mind blowing, wasn't it, David? Like how clean.
I've got posters from the show here of the original art, one of the boxing matches, just on the wall behind me pretty much all the time.
Yeah, so just how clean and crisp the art is, and it's just mind blowing. And then with Go Back, I mean, I think Gil Scott Heron, because David likes to go like, yeah, what vibes are you thinking? Like, what music? And I was like, man, we were talking, I think I for some reason I was like, I just listened to Gil Scott Heron's, was it I Hate New York or?
New York is Killing Me.
New York is Killing Me. You know, and there's that line, like 8 million people but no friends or something. And I was like, man, that kind of sits the theme of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And then to that and Whitey on the Moon, like all kind of, you know, he was amazing. So yeah, I don't know, that for me, that's the connection. And then also like just getting to work with David. Like I got one thing we haven't mentioned yet with David is he's an awesome problem solver. So all the comics are design choices and design problems I think you have to solve and think about. And I always like you run into them. Like how should we wrap up this chapter? Or what do you think on the page turn here? Or what story element? Or, you know, how could we hit this beat better with a certain line of dialogue? And like, what better co-creator to have than David, who like is really good with the English language. And you can like really go, can we lessen this sentence? Can we expand this theme? Or like, it's just awesome. I love it. And then he's been an editor since, you know, as long as I can remember. So he's constantly catching your mistakes and
catching my mistakes,
catching his own mistakes. But and then also too, like one thing I've noticed about like good co-creators, also, I'm off on a tangent here, but I'll just keep going.
No, let's roll.
Is like you keep moving forward, momentum onward. Like you never get hooked on a problem and discouraged. You realize like no one's going to notice this but us. Let's keep going, moving on. And then you usually kind of find the solution a day or two later and you go back and fix it. So it's always just a good positive momentum.
And now, a quick word from one of our sponsors. The sins of the past don't stay buried. They always find a way of rising from the grave. In November, Oni Press is proud to present Crownsville, a 5-part series from master storyteller Rodney Barnes and phenomenal artist Elia Bonetti. Founded at the turn of the 20th century, the Crownsville Hospital was a notoriously segregated all-black psychiatric institute. After decades of overcrowding and neglect, alongside darker, more persistent rumors of patient abuse and illegal medical experiments, it was finally closed. Today, it stands condemned. But when an unexplained death inside the abandoned hospital is ruled a suicide, Detective Mike Sims and journalist Paul Blair are compelled to dig deeper, only to discover the reality of the ghosts that still walk its halls. Enter a century-spanning tale of suspense and sorrow as true crime meets shocking terror in Crownsville #1, a double-sized 48-page debut coming in November from Oni Press. And now, back to the show. I want to share a page, which is terrible audio podcast behavior, but you know, this is also on YouTube, so I can do it. So for listeners, if you get your copy of Good Devils, go to the beginning of the second chapter of Go Back, because I want to bring this up. I feel like this represents what you're talking about really well, and I want to ask about the process for it. I also want to say, I actually saw Gil Scott-Heron in concert in one of like his final bands. It was amazing. But this, I wrote about this multiple times on Sketch because I just think it is I just love this page. It's so lyrical. It's so smart from a like art and design standpoint, like just all the little choices, like how everything has got, I don't know, like the kind of the tone over it besides the main character who's under a crosshair and everything like that. It's just such a good page. And it has that line, escape don't come easy and friends are even harder to come by. Is this the type of thing you're talking about, Nick, where it's like the problem solving, trying to find the right answers? What is your process of working together for something like this, or just period?
I'm trying to find the script for this now because I'm curious what I wrote.
I think you were, at this point, we knew we were integrating titles into the splashes. Like, and I don't think we did that on the first chapter.
You didn't.
No.
Yeah. And I think so that was part of me thinking like, okay, I love this title. It's big. I'll put it throughout the page. And then like David, for this particular job, I was doing the Jason Aaron book. Oh man.
Yeah, at Boom.
At
End of the
Boom.
World.
Once Upon a Time at the End of the World.
Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. Thank you.
I work with your editor on that now, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
Daphne.
Yeah, she's awesome. And this was like, so I remember the script, David. It was like he goes down into the subway, and I was just kind of like, well, I'm always thinking of like, what's the quickest, easiest solution, and then like, what's going to pack the most punch. And I think you had like, it was a crowded subway, but like we focus in on the main character, and you know, I just ripped a photo off the internet of people going down into a subway station. So basically everyone around him is traced. And then I knew like I'll focus in on the main character and then divide it up, like rather than just have this image not be broken up, divide it up with all these small panels, which I think mentally the reader goes, oh, there's something going on with the timing here, but there's really nothing going on. So it then becomes just a cool design element. And then just carving the type through the page.
Yeah. I figured out what I was... Have you played Persona, David?
No, I haven't.
There are these video games. Persona 5, I think, has a bit where you're riding a subway and people are chatting around you in like different non sequiturs. And I was like, man, that is like such a comics thing. Can we do that in a comics page? So I wrote a page of script for Nick that was just sort of, here's everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And like conversations going around, and this is what he came up with, which is typically impressive. You know, so many panels that it adds such like a cool effect to have that kind of density on a page when there's really no dialogue of note. You know, this doesn't move the forward. Amazing. This doesn't move the story forward necessarily. I've never done that naturally before. That's a new one.
I love the Trae Young line. It feels very authentic Knicks fans walking through the subway, being very upset about the Knicks, but you know that they're going to be right back in. But it is. I mean, is this kind of what you guys do together? Is you kind of like talk about story, you figure out what you want to do. David, you come up with a script, and then it's like problem solving by the both of you from there.
I think so. That sounds fair to me.
Yeah, I think. Were you writing full script for this, David, or no?
It's like semi-full script. I wasn't calling panels, but I was like the flow of the page was there.
Yeah,
so like I would do like a paragraph that would be like maybe panels 1 through 3, a paragraph for panels 4 through 6, something like that.
And you had the dialogue was on it too, I believe. Yeah, and then I think like I like to have that ability to basically reshuffle or do what I want to do with the page, but I always stay within the writer's like plot. And if I feel like there's other opportunities, I'll mention it before I start drawing it, and then we'll discuss it. But I mean, I remember this particular chapter. It was like, yeah, like a fight in the subway, and then he escapes to like a friend's house, and she can't let him in. But like, again, I remember I would do these and I would have like a weekend to get them done. So it was very much like getting the essence of the scene and trying say the most with the least amount of work. So that's why a lot of heavy blacks. And so like, it was cool because like I gave myself limitations, like black, white, and I believe one or two tone. Like it wasn't overly worked. And I think there's really something to learn in that. Like, I feel like this translated into Absolute Batman. Like, it was like, Nick, don't overthink it. You're not creating the Sistine Chapel. Like, just get it done, but get it done as effectively as possible within the time given. So design for that. And then just, trust your instincts. So.
That's one thing I actually kind of wondered about with the three stories that go into there, because there's Good Devils number 21, which is the story from Cry Punch that is the first story in Good Devils, the one shot, and then there's Fight Like Hell, which was a short box comics fair book, which is a digital comics fair put on by Zainab Akhtar, which is amazing and filled with all kinds of amazing comics, and is starting 2 days after this goes up. So. Go
nice.
there.
Yeah, spend all your money.
God, I do every year. It's terrible. And then the last one was Go Back, which showed up in the back of each issue of Newburn, which was Chip Zdarsky and Jacob Phillips's Image series. One of the things I wondered about is like, how much did the opportunity shape the comic? Because I mean, with was Cry Punch all black and white? Yeah, it's all black.
Yeah, it was all black and white.
And so like by nature, you're going to do that. Newburn was black and white, so you don't want to be like a bright shining light at the back of it, but like, short box, you can do whatever you want. How did the opportunities end up shaping what you ended up doing in these stories?
Oh, for Cry Punch, it was right. I mean, that's what it was. I was asked by Al Gofa to do something in Cry Punch, and then I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to work with David, because it was all post-apocalyptic, I think, the theme.
Yeah, it's all like manga fighting, action type stuff.
It was fighting, martial arts, that's it. And that was the impetus for that, for sure. So
yeah, I felt like the colors in Fight Like Hell came almost last minute. Like, it wasn't fully colored at first. We were planning black and white maybe, then you were like, oh no, I've been taking a coloring class, I want to like see what I can do.
Yeah, and then also just being digital, I felt like we wanted to go color there.
I like that you included the full boards in Good Devils, in the story Good Devils, because like you did that one actually traditionally, and so you can actually see like the full board on there, which is really nice. In the issue itself,
I'm a sicko for that stuff.
Oh,
if you sell a comic that's got like unfinished art, I am there. I'm ready to buy it.
I just power ranked formats, and my number one was Prestige Edition single issues, because I love the perfect bound spines on single issue comics. So this thing is just like loaded with the things I'm a sicko about when it comes to comics.
I like it. Oh no, go for it.
I was just gonna say I'm all about that.
Part of my mentality with this, speaking of homages and Good Devils, is there are an infinite number of like Superman but not comics, kind of like Invincible's in there, Supreme. There are all these kind of like, what if Superman was different sort of stories that we just kind of take into stride. And I was like, what if we did the same thing with Kenshiro? What if we treated Kenshiro like Superman from Fist of the North Star and like iterated on him over the years? I think it's fun, like playing with these characters and kind of getting things down that way.
I mean, it seems like this is just, I mean, I brought it up earlier. Like, this is something I don't mean to like, I'm not downplaying it when I say this. This isn't something you need. So this is something you can just do things you want to do. And it feels like this is like a project where the two of you are just like, I'm taking a coloring class. I really want to do this traditionally. I want to use Zipatone or something like that. And then next thing you know, like these wants become a essential part of the story. I mean, is that kind of how you approach these stories? Nick, do you have any thoughts?
No. I mean, I think it's interesting because like, as I'm hearing you say this, these are just like, it's just getting it done. And then I feel like people bring all these extra things into it, but it's just the process and then just making something. And then what's cool is to hear your reaction, David, and what the stuff like that you're latching on to. because we're, I think we're doing this regardless. So it's just like, it's nice. It's nice that it's being read and it's appreciated. And then like going back, like selfishly for me, it's like, what comic would David Brothers make? And, when I look at Fight Like Hell, like, I don't think there's a story that exists like it. Like our main hero dies and goes to heaven. And then it's got like the best last page that like I feel like I've ever done. Like I love the beat at the end, the beat that it hits.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean the final panel in specific?
It's with that final tear where it's like, what are you doing? They're all trying to kill you, and she just smirks.
It's like the perfect smash cut to credits in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but Nick kills that stuff. Go Back was also full of like great single final panels.
Mm-hmm.
I texted him one earlier this week from chapter 2 of Go Back, when it looks like a Marvel corner box as he's walking away from his friend's house. And I'm like, dude, like we really nailed this comic. Like there's so many good parts.
Oh, it really does. I'm looking at that right now. That is actually like, that is completely perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I think is fascinating about this book is like, you mentioned this earlier, Nick, when we were talking about FOC and about how like one-shots have this like, I don't know, one-shots have this weird like stigma to them. I'm even doing an email newsletter for my local comic shop, and I made some picks. Like I picked that for a recent newsletter. I picked the Closer from Kieran Gillen and Lieber and a bunch of other folks, Tamara Bonvillain. And like they emailed me like, this is a one-shot, right? I'm like, yeah, I picked it because it's a one-shot.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, these are short stories. It adds up to 64 pages. But when I was reading it again, I've read it, all the stories, at least 3 times, like both because I got it originally and because I was prepping for this. Mm-hmm. But I was sending myself emails of just things I liked. And it was like 30 emails long. And there's like little things like, I love the fact that the kid Jolt Jay, the first thing he does when he lands in heaven is like, where's that dude I want to fight? I mean, it's just like these little things. And it's like, you're talking about it, Nick. It's not necessarily as deliberate as like, I want to do these things. It seems like it's more like, this feels right, so I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's fun is like, what will we produce? Because we don't even know. We really don't. And then you put your instincts on the page, and then that's what comes out. It's like we're talking now. This is exactly what we'll look at a page and then like discuss dialogue if it's not working, or if it is, how can we tweak it even more? Or, just thoughts come up and then continue to push it. So it's just a creative process and see what comes of it.
Seems very improvisational.
Yeah,
I
totally love improv.
I think the best comics are made like that, personally. Like Marvel style is the way to go. Like, let the artist visually let the artist dictate the visuals, and then let the writer put the final touch on it with the dialogue. Like, find the beats and nail them.
I like that.
And then the editing. What can you then strip away or add? So.
On Pretty Deadly, Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios, their role is that Emma controls the art and Kelly Sue controls the words. And that's like such a clean division, I think. And it speaks well of their book. Like, it turns out great. Like, it's both of them working at the peak of their powers. So I think as a writer, I can write full script, but the way I write for Nick is almost like prose script, Like, I'm not calling like, oh, this is panel 6, but like, if you're reading it, hopefully it'll feel like, oh, this is panel 6 by the time you get there. And then it's all filtered through him anyway. So I don't know, it's fun. The title page for chapter 2 of Go Back, for example, was all Nick. When it came in, I was like, holy crap, I had no idea how you were going to do this. I was expecting, a 9 grid or something like that, instead of like everything happening all at once. And everything happening all at once is so cool.
Did you change your, like, the other chapter scripts to match that? Or is that just what Nick did?
He did it on that one, and then I leaned into it for 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So I think I had a couple of different, originally those were just like working titles for the chapter, so I could keep straight what was happening in each.
Yeah.
Because they're all kind of summaries in a way. A little like vague, but there's more or less summaries.
Friends are hard to come by.
Yeah. And Nick threw it on the page in chapter 2, and I was like, man, this is perfect. Like, this looks so cool. It's a cool way to do a title. It fits the tone of the book especially. Like, I think we have a very DIY, black and white friendly style.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
collaboration is a conversation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And so it's like when you see Nick do something, then you can do something, then he can build off of that. I mean, it's like tennis, except for you're both trying to win. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
together. It's collaborative tennis. Co-op.
Doubles tennis.
That's right. There we go.
Yeah, even like with Chip Zdarsky on Time Waits, we did the book with Marcus Toe from Distillery. Mostly that was us getting on Zoom for an hour. By the end of the call, we have an outline. We go off and do our thing, and then we combine our scripts, and it's good to go. And that one we did do full script, actually, I think because we were working so differently. Like I kind of followed Chip's format as another way to learn things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with Scott, Jonathan, David, Caleb, Jeff Parker back in the day. Like, you want to get on the same wavelength and make sure you're heading in the right direction. And then, I mean, gosh, Scott and I talk so much that I really don't even need his script when he sends it, because I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, David's writing was kind of like prose. Like he's given me the beat of the dialogue. And one thing I love about David is how pared down the dialogue is. Like, it's just the essence of what you need, and there's no superfluous bullshit. You're never designing around word balloons. So it's like as a storyteller, then I can really play. Like, I'm like, oh, well, I got to save room for this big monologue over here. Like, there's never any of that. And it's also like, I feel like David's stuff is very cinematic. Like the characters are constantly moving, and doing things. So.
And now, a quick word from one of our sponsors. As one of the most innovative comic publishers, Vault Comics has released some of the most exciting independent comics of the past 10 years. Vault's current lineup includes a murderer's row of titles like Post Malone's brand new comic series Big Rig, Money Shot Big Bang by Patton Oswalt, Tim Seeley, and Garth Graham, and the hit sapphic shenanigans of Corn Howell's Lilith, all of which are available at your local comic shop. Vault's backlist boasts a who's who of comic creators, many of whom have been guests on this very podcast, including titles from the likes of Rom V, Cy Spurrier, Christopher Cantwell, Tim Seeley, Aaron Campbell, Liana Kingus, and many more. Vault is even giving off-panel listeners 10% off on orders of Vault titles from www.vaultcomics.com by using the code OFFPANEL, that's one word, at checkout. So go to Vault's website and use the code OFFPANEL at checkout for 10% off your entire order. And now, back to the show. I like that the one reference you have to anything besides the influences in the afterword, David, is a movie that literally just came out,
Yes.
Highest to Lowest, the new Spike Lee movie. It was funny. It's the first time I almost watched a movie that had nothing to do with the project I'm talking about in preparation for this, but I ran out of time. But,
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I really think, I mean, I know I've already complimented a lot. This is a very special project. I think you guys did something very cool here. But what made you all want to actually bring it to print? Because like these comics did exist already. I
think I wanted more people to read them.
Yeah.
They existed, but I think Cry Punch was just the Kickstarter. Fight Like Hell was just on Shortbox. We could sell them online digitally, but that's not quite the same. And we did do that for Good Devils a little bit. But like having a printed book, like I think we actually have a spine. We hit 64 pages. We get like a very narrow spine this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really special. I primarily read digitally, but I love print books. I've got Batman over here. I've got other stuff within arm's reach. It feels like a culmination of what we were doing before,
mm-hmm.
or maybe a validation, because I really wanted to sell this 3 stories previously, like indie, sort of, like out of my trunk at conventions, hand-to-hand selling to fans. I think that's like an important and hard to find part of the comics process sometimes, especially as things change over the years. Like I really wanted to have the indie comics experience with these. And then the next step up from that is the Image Comics experience, right? So,
right. Nick,
yeah, I think just having it in print and, then you just have the physical copy of it all together. And then like David was saying, I don't know how many people have read it. So it doesn't seem like each project was smaller and wasn't distributed to the direct market at all. So it never even reached that. So, it's fun to then go into the more, the audiences that I'm used to serving. And
Mhm.
because these were more, short box, Algofas, Cry Punch, and then backups in New Bern. So, yeah, I don't think many people have seen it or even are.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned this earlier. It's like maybe shops didn't order it to like the absolute Batman numbers or anything like that, but at least now
it's not too late.
It's not too late. I mean, at least now what they can do is like, if do you like this, you can also read this, and it like has the same artist and everything like that. And that type of discoverability, especially right now, is I think probably easier than it probably ever has been for a project of yours.
Mhm.
But at the same time, who knows with how retailers will operate. But I wanted to ask about Ghost Cage, actually. Do you kind of, because David, you edited that. Nick, you
Yeah.
co-wrote and did the art for that. Do you kind of look at that project as like a sister to this to some degree? Or is it just a different species?
I think it's a different species. Caleb's a totally different writer than David.
Yeah.
Caleb wrote a lot of stuff for Ghost Cage, a lot. Like, I mean, he wrote a totally different iteration of it. And then I just was kind of like, Caleb, this is like, I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, Caleb goes in totally crazy places, goes surreal, which I'm always like, cool, let's go with this. Let's see where this goes. And almost like, I feel like me and Dave, I mean, I felt like I was always reining Caleb back in, like, come here. And then I feel like David, like, probably brought us together. And yeah, I feel that was a huge learning process because I had never written anything before and was really not confident about what I was doing. And I remember when, it's funny, I mean, I feel like this way about every comic. The first time I read a first issue of something I do, I'm always like, oh my God, this is not good. And then what I've learned is like everything can be fixed in that final edit. You can reshape a whole book with new words and moving things around. And then, yeah, by the end of like that process of like editing it, I think I love that book.
I do too.
Yeah, it's on my shelf. It's funny you say that it's a different project because for me, it's kind of a sister project for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think everything I'm doing with friends in the comics kind of has a similar vibe in that we're all terrified of climate change. Emma's Consuelo, our stuff with Good Devils, Ghost Cage was definitely post-climate change. That's not the only thing that, unites us. But I think that for me, it was working the same muscle as I would with Emma on Consuelo, where it's like, oh, friends need some help and I'm good at doing the type of help they need. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how I fit in and help them make the best book they want to do.
Do you look at your editorial work as something that really feeds into what you've done as a writer?
It depends. My day job editing isn't very creative. Like manga editing is primarily localization, which is like minor creative. The translator does most of the work there, and the lion's share of the work there, I should say. And the letterer does a lot of work as well. But I'm not like making decisions on the fly necessarily the way I would be with Emma, where it's like, oh, this scene is working, but it might be a little weird if it goes in this direction. Like developmental editing, I think is something I only do for friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last question for this. I know you're both busy, but could you see yourselves working together again?
Man, I hope so.
For sure. Yeah, totally. I want to get David to write something at DC.
Could have been in that Absolute Batman annual. You just kicked Daniel Warren Johnson out of there.
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, that my thing for that was writer artists only. Like, I wanted to see.
I love that. That.
Yeah, same.
I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson, James Herron, and Meredith McLaren. So
I love Meredith's work. She's so cool.
Yeah, she's amazing. I can't wait to see what they do, and then I'm just gonna steal it.
I mean, I gotta say, like when I saw that annual announced, that is. I mean, I've said this before. I kind of feel like, in a way, this is a very dramatic way to talk about your work, Nick, but I kind of feel like your work is like a mission statement on Absolute Batman of like DC doing something different. And I think kind of getting those cartoonists, those writer artists on Absolute Batman Annual is also kind of a mission statement because how rare is it to like really get a writer artist doing stories there? And it's increasingly less so. I mean, like Erica Henderson's doing that Harley Ivy book, and like, it's very cool to see more writer artists doing stuff on DC's projects because you get I don't want to say singular because there's gonna be editorial in there and there's gonna be other people working on it, but you get a unique voice that you get throughout the story that's rare.
Yeah, Sophie Campbell's Supergirl is really good too. And I think like that's probably the purest way. So when I work with writers, it's like, and kudos to Scott and DC for like doing what they did with the Absolute line, like just going for it. And Scott hiring me, like I still to this day love to bust balls and be like, my editor, I'm always like, let's be honest, what did you say when Scott said I want Nick Dragotta to draw this? Like I guarantee they were like, who? So they just went different and bold. And I think it also maybe is a sign of the readership, like because I am not, DC House. I'm totally different. I mean, this is more in my go back kind of style of like get it done, but really hit the beats. And Scott, man, he's just throwing like his initial pitch was Batman's parents would be killed at a school shooting, and I was just like, wow, okay, I want to draw that Batman. Like it seemed so relevant, and he really had stuff to say. So, yeah,
I got to work on my Absolute Slam Bradley pitch.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I do want to bring up Absolute Batman briefly. As I noted, I've been doing retailer interviews all week, and it's insane to hear what the response has been in stores. Just because, like, I mean, one of the things that's I think a low-key superpower of the line is that they've actually kept all the single issues in print so people can actually buy them, which doesn't seem like it should be a big deal. It seems like something everyone should do, yet it's incredibly rare.
Yeah,
but David, I want to get your take on it. As a critic...
sorry, go ahead. I was gonna interject that Absolute
No, go ahead.
Batman,
what are you saying?
It just went into its 8th printing for #1, and I probably shouldn't say, I mean I won't, but the amount they printed for that 8th printing is insane. Like I'm like, holy shit! Like this book is continuing to be ordered, and you're right. Even after the trade is out, people still
That's what I was
want
gonna say.
that first floppy. Yeah, it's nuts.
The fact that it's still selling in single issues for issues that have been collected is incredible. I mean, all of that is just like anomalous behavior in the best of ways. But David, as a critic and someone who obviously gets what Nick does, I'm curious on your perspective. Why do you think Absolute Batman has resonated with readers in the way it has? Because it's just speaking a language that people really love, and I'm fascinated on your idea of that.
I think Big Batman is a good visual. Like first and foremost, like it gets you in the door. You're like, what is this big bodybuilder looking guy about? Because Batman sort of has a boxer or wrestler's build a lot of times. But this is like huge. This is like an Ed McGuinness drawing of a superhero, but with like human proportions. It's really fun. But I think what it is that, like Nick was saying, he doesn't do DC House style. I'm flipping through the book off screen while we chat. Like I opened to a random page and there's 4, 8, 11, 14 panels. He knows when to slow it down, when to speed it up, and when to really give you the big bang, like the Batmobile or the Bat Axe in the first issue. Like I know there's a lot of discussion about that for storytelling. Like Nick excels at finding both the big moments, the explosive ones, but also the small ones. Like Martha Wayne being still alive in the first issue. I guess that's a spoiler, but it's been out for a while. That was where I was like, oh, like they're doing something different here. And the way Nick was portraying it, the way he was drawing Batman as kind of like a gentle giant type of dude. Like it really clicked for me. And I'm not a hardcore DC guy as much as I used to be. I kind of need a hook to read Batman these days because I've read so many Batman comics. But he's joined a long line of artists like Alan Davis and Jim Aparo who have really made their stamp on Batman. Jorge Jimenez on the main series as well. He's been on there like through 3 writers now.
Yeah.
He might have the longest run of all Batman artists.
Yeah.
He's
another guy.
He started drawing right before the pandemic, which is absolutely amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, I've got hope. But he's another guy where I think he's bringing something either different enough or explosive enough to Batman where it's making an impact. And I think Nick is in that same conversation.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
It is, it's very fascinating to see all that. But one of the things I think is really funny, like you brought up the size of Batman.
Yeah.
I was talking to Susanna Polo, formerly of Polygon, now doing some like freelance work for Publishers Weekly. And I think the piece has already went up. So Susanna, if it hasn't, I very much apologize for stealing a line from you. But she said that she talked to Chris Conroy, one of the editors over there, and he said that he knew that it was going to work when people were so mad about how big Batman was.
Yeah.
And it's funny how like, I mean, fundamentally, like, probably one of the last things you want as a creative person is indifference. And to get somebody to be really, like, worked up and passionate about it, good or bad, it means they're going to give it a chance. And I think that that's interesting.
There's a flip side to that, to what Conroy said, that I believe too. Like, people were mad about Big Batman, but artists were excited about it.
Oh,
and that's
yeah,
something
so much
that,
fan art, man.
Yeah. If you notice when the fan reaction is like, I don't know, but artists are like, tell me more, like, pay attention. Because that's where the juice is. That's how you discover people like Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, like Gundam The Origin, or somebody's favorite book like Katsuya Terada or something like that.
I think for me and Scott really set out to go back to making page turners and end of the issue cliffhangers. And then I was really animate about, and David, I've talked to you about this before, Naoki Urasawa comics read like butter. Like, and he has it down to a science where the last panel of each page makes you want to go to the next page. The last page of every chapter makes you want to get to the next chapter. And we kind of sometimes forget about that. So, like, that you see more panels because I want to break up that dialogue a bit and I want to make it an easier read. And I want you to flow through the book. And I want to really, when Scott has a poignant moment, I want to slap you in the face with an image and have that word meet that picture. You know, we all know when it's done right, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't think we do it right all the time, but that's what we're striving for. And I think like readers can pick this up and go, yeah, it's a good time. It's just a good time. You know, it's not like, oh, I slogged through it. Cool cliffhanger, but it was kind of a bore. You know, like so many comics I don't think are crafted as good as they can be. I think the ideas are there, the visuals are there, but then, you know, it's not gelling. So that was the goal with this, I think.
It's funny. This is just exclusive to me, actually. But I edited Scott on Witches with Jock back in the day at Image.
Yeah.
So it's funny seeing him work with Nick because I almost can't turn off the editor brain. Like seeing how they're interacting with each other. It doesn't hurt the comic at all. You know, I'm not like, you got this wrong. It's more like I'm studying it on a level that's like just under what is Batman up to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
I think one funny thing about the book, and this is probably an imperfect comp, but in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of like 90s Image in the sense that like there's something about the book that just feels cool in a way that you don't get as often from superhero comics. And I think that is like a super underrated part about it because like comics should be cool, man. And like
I could see like a Wildstormy kind of angle to this for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, that's why I'm in comics. Like 90s Image, those original 7 creators blew me away. That's all I copied when I was a teenager. So like, yeah, I mean, I always think I'm with you. Like comics should be cool. They should be sexy. They should be dangerous. They should be entertaining. They should be all of that stuff. And that's, so it's fun to play in that. And
The sound effects make Nick's comics really fun, by the way.
Yeah.
Like drawing it, like your lettering for the titles and Go Back, I think adds a lot, but the sound effects, like the foof in Fight Like Hell when he gets to heaven, honestly made me laugh. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorites. I definitely wrote an email to myself about that.
I got to give a shout out to Alex Toth. I mean, I don't think no one did it better than Alex Toth integrating sound effects, and he did all his own hand lettering, and it's just like, it's brilliant. So.
A really quick comment about A Fight Like Hell. I just love everything about Sebi and how he's just like completely just coated in arrows.
I love like, so I was raised like Protestant Christian, I guess is the short version, but I love Catholic lore, and lore is probably the most disrespectful way to refer to that. But Saint Sebastian, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah.
So turning him, he's like the patron saint of athletes. So of course he would be the coach guy in heaven, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a joke that made me laugh. So I was like, let's do it.
I love that he's dressed as like a high school coach.
Oh, well, I mean, to me, it was Andy Reid. So he coached the Eagles and then, went on the run with the Chiefs. And
he does have Eagles colors too.
He's just this big, lovable, after every game, he's like, I'm going to go get a cheeseburger.
He looks like the coach from Slam Dunk too. Like there's he's part of a great lineage of coaches, I think.
Yeah.
I love how after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, I don't even know if it was the first time. I think it was the first time with Andy Reid. He just started appearing in so many like restaurant commercials, and I was like, they know what's up. They just nailed it. All right, to close, I actually want to talk about comics as a whole. You two clearly love comics and have many varieties, but it's a very big world out there. Like, I mean, David, I don't want to open a can of worms, but like, you know, we kind of very briefly talked about it, and you were talking about on Blue Sky about like the idea of like manga and comics being confrontational or like adversarial or whatever and everything like that. But there's so many comics to choose from. It's pretty amazing. But what gets you too excited about comics as a medium these days? Like, what really gets you going?
Art. Like, it's still the same thing as when I was a kid. Like, I see a good drawing. You know, I judge books by their cover, and comics artists are incredible at getting me in the door. But more than that, I think seeing what younger artists are doing. Like, I have my lane. I love like crime comics, Frank Miller, Brubaker Phillips, that whole line. Other people like, you know, webtoons type stuff, sports manga. But if all of it's well drawn, then all of it's a good comic to me. So yeah, I just want to see the new thing I haven't seen yet that makes me feel really hyped up.
What about you?
How about you?
I mean, yeah, I think just the merging of words and pictures and how personal and immediate that experience is when you're reading a comic, especially when it hits. So like, and then I just love the craft of them, and then just trying to understand it more and then put it into practice. You know, like some of my favorite comics are like Larson's The Far Side, where to me, like words and pictures, like crack you up, you know, and it's just like the goofiest drawing with the perfect sentence. Or you can think of Calvin and Hobbes. And so like I just want to create these moments where I'm imagining the reader sitting there, you know, being scared, being happy, sad, happy, whatever. And like just trying to create that. And because comics have done that for me. And then like David said, the visuals. I mean, I'm for some odd reason I'm watching Alien Earth, and I can't wait to go back and read Alien Salvation, which was Mignola, Gibbons, and Nolan.
Oh man, yeah.
And
I
you
haven't
talked
read
to Mike.
that.
Oh my
man.
gosh, dude!
I need to.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah,
I got a funny story though. You talked to Mike Mignola about it, and he hates it. He doesn't. He just didn't like the. I don't know. I love that comic though. I think it's just an awesome. This was when there was no aliens material. Like you just had the like 2 or 3 movies, and that book hit at a time where I was like, "Holy cow! Why isn't this a movie?" And I never saw the twist and all of. I love it. So, just trying to create like those moments that I've had and experienced, and like kind of share that love. Like I just love this medium. It's so simple. You only need a pencil and a piece of paper. Anyone can do it. Good comics are about good design. You can transmute this message with stick figures and your lettering. So like there's no barrier. I love the medium. It's open to everyone. We're competing with everyone around the world. Like it's, you know, with these ideas, and everyone's looking at comics, you know, and then you can see how it translates into film and TV and stuff like that. Like I don't know. I love it. I love it. Jack Kirby, you know, Alex Toth, Nihei Otomo, on and on and on, like the best.
Yeah. I've been learning, you know, like I write comics and edit comics, but I know how to flat, you know, I would not be a good inker, but I know the basics of inking. Like I feel like as an editor, you kind of have to know what you're asking people to do.
I'm not a good inker either.
And I've even been like practicing lettering old school style with
that's awesome.
You know, just because like Nick was saying, comics are amazing. It's given me a lot, and it still has a lot to give me. And I think that constant feedback of like, I learned something new about comics, increases my understanding about comics, makes it easier for me to talk about comics and sell comics and make comics. Not sell comics. That's not what I like to do. Convince people to read comics. Let's say.
I mean, that is like we talked about FOC to start.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for everyone, at least to some degree, obviously there's commerce, there's like making a living element of it. But ultimately, you want people to read your work. You want people to engage with it. You want people to see your passions and everything like that. I'm going to end this with one compliment. I haven't mentioned it before, and it's going to answer my own question. One reason why I love comics is when I come across something that's unexpected. And like, there are so many moments in Good Devils that are just so unexpected. I mean, you already brought this up. It's a spoiler for your comic, but I'm going to mention it.
Yeah.
You tell a story about the greatest boxer in the world and immediately kill him. And so and like it is such a good turn, but like that book is just filled with it. And I treasure comics that are filled with the unexpected. All three of these stories are filled with it. You guys crushed it. Everyone read Good Devils. But that's all I have for you guys. David, Nick, thank you so much for coming on and talk about Good Devils, your careers, and everything else. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, thanks, man. I love the show. It's nice to be on it.
Yeah, thank you,
fill the
David.
air a little bit.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.